We're from College of Veterinary Medicine at Texas A&M University. I am not a veterinarian, I'm an education specialist, but I have the great job of organizing these ladies to come here, and these are veterinary students from the College of Veterinary Medicine. They're going to be talking to you guys today about what it's like in vet school and some advice to you guys if you're interested in going to vet school or in working with animals. So how many of you in here think that you want to be a veterinarian someday? Okay, quite a few of you. We're going to have them talk, we're going to ask them a couple of questions, and at the end we're going to have some time for you guys to ask questions as well. So if you think of something along the way, at the end we'll have a chance to ask that. So let's start with Tony, and Tony is a second-year vet student. And Tony, what got you interested in being a veterinarian, and when did you decide you wanted to be a veterinarian?
Well, I've always grown up having pets in the family, but I guess the moment when I started really getting involved with animals was when my baby brother was born and my parents got me a dog so I wouldn't feel like I didn't have enough attention in the household. And little did they know that kind of sparked my future career path. But I also did consider human medicine as a career. I volunteered at MD Anderson Cancer Hospital, or the cancer center down the road, and just working with the cancer patients was a really eye-opening experience for me. But there's one patient where I had a lot of trouble connecting with her. I've been trying to connect with her for a few weeks. And then they brought in a dog with the animal assisted therapy program. And her personality just completely changed. She opened up, we were able to have a conversation while she was petting the dog. And I guess that's when I realized that being a vet and helping animals, you're not just helping animals, but you're helping the humans that they come into contact with. So, when you take your pet to the vet and the vet helps your pet, you feel good too, right? Because, it's your animal that's getting good health care and feeling better. So that's kind of how I decided that veterinary medicine was the career I wanted to be in.
What's your education background, and what was your path to get into veterinary school?
I went to First Colony Middle School and Dulles High School in Sugar Land, Texas. Anybody? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a little far from here. But so I was just really interested in all science classes, middle school and high school. It's what I want, the classes I look forward to being in and learning about. And I decided I wanted to go to A&M because it is the only vet school in Texas. And I also am a pretty big homebody. I don't like to be away from my family for long extended periods of time. So I wanted to be somewhere close to home, and A&M was a really good option for that. So I entered A&M as a biomedical science major, and it's kind of the major that a lot of pre-medicine field students like to go into, such as dentistry, doctor, optometry, pretty much any kind of science, health-related field, because it's just a good program to prepare you for the professional school that you want to go into. And so that's the program that I graduated from. I spent 4 years in that program, and then I applied to vet school my senior year, and that's kind of how I got started.
Okay. I can picture Anthony. All right. What advice would you give these guys in here? So we've got middle school and high school and parents. What advice would you give them if they were interested in becoming a veterinarian?
For middle schoolers, I guess 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you're taking your basic science classes. Just really get engaged in your classes. Talk to your teachers. They're actually really nice people that want to help you. And just when you're doing the dissection stuff, I think at my school we did a frog and maybe an earthworm. And if you're really into that kind of stuff and that really makes you excited, then you're definitely on the right path to picking the right career for you. If it's not something that gets you excited, you're kind of oh, that's a little gross. Maybe you want to think about some other options. But then going to high school, when you have I guess a bigger selection of science-related classes, such as Bio 2, Chemistry 2, Physics 2, I really encourage you to challenge yourself and take those classes, even if it may be a bit more difficult than what the basic requirements are. I think it just gives you a really good idea of what to expect in college and also in a professional program like veterinary medicine. I guess, yeah, for parents, I I didn't talk about this last time, but my parents were very supportive the entire way through. I think that's just something that I felt like they did very well, was to just be supportive and encouraging in, I guess, whatever profession I was pursuing. And also, I think, other than school stuff, definitely try to be involved in extracurricular stuff. Like I was also in tennis, and just be involved generally and experience life, you know. And it's because school kind of takes over your life
For a little bit.
for a little bit, yeah.
Now, veterinary school takes 4 years. In addition to your undergraduate, it takes 4 years. And Tony, can you tell them about what it's like first year of veterinary school?
Right. Yeah. First year, basically we learn what is normal, because you have to know what's normal in order to be able to identify what's not normal. And so first year we take courses like anatomy and physiology, which is basically what the body looks like outside and inside, and then also how the body works. Like, why does the heart beat faster when this happens, or why do you have a fever when you are infected with a bacteria or something like that. And so first year they kind of give us all the basics. It's a lot of information to take in. We cover all species from like dogs, cats, horses, cows, pigs, birds, goats, anything you can think of, and cram all that into our brain. And that's kind of just the preparation to transition us into more education.
Very good, thank you. Okay, now I'd like to talk to you now. How did you get interested in being a veterinarian, and kind of how did you prepare?
I did not become interested in being like a veterinarian until high school. So when I was in middle school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to like discover the giant squid that we finally got a picture of a few weeks ago in the Sea of Japan or wherever it was. But when I got into high school, I realized that I wanted to do more medicine. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to do human medicine or animal medicine. And when I got into college, I realized that I would much rather spend my days playing with animals than sick people. So veterinary was just the place for me. You can prepare by volunteering at animal shelters or calling up your local veterinarian, and usually if you say that you're interested or you're thinking about it, they'll let you come in and shadow them. You can sort of stand in the exam room and just watch what they do. My senior year of undergraduate, when I was at Rice, I came here actually, and I did an internship here at the zoo with the hoofstocks. I got to work with the rhinos and the giraffes and the okapi, and it was wonderful. And unique experiences like that can really make your application stand out from all of the other people who, you know, have just been working in animal shelters and things like that. So I think one of the few of our classmates who actually like works with zoo animals before. Yeah.
So what is your education background? What's your path to getting into vet school?
So I did, I took all of my AP sciences when I was in high school because I really liked them all except for physics. And then I did 2 years at a community college, and I got my associate's degree, and then I transferred into Rice, and I did my last 2 years there. I was a sociology major because I really enjoyed it, and I was a biochemistry double major because I needed all of the sciences for vet school anyway. So I applied my senior year of undergrad and then got accepted for the next year. So you have to apply a year before the year you start. It's a pretty long process.
And Cassandra, you're a second year veterinary student, correct? Can you tell them a little bit about what second year is?
Absolutely. So as Tony said, the first year you learn what normal looks like. The second year they teach you what abnormal looks like. So you start learning pathology, which is when you have an infection, what does the infection look like? What does it do to your body? You learn pharmacology, so you learn what drugs treat what species and the side effects and how they interact with each other. Parasitology was last semester. That was not my favorite. So you learn about all of the different bugs that can infect animals and live in them and cause problems, and you learn about how some of them are zoonotic, which means that you can get them. And then all of the second years, we all get very paranoid, and we're all convinced that we have parasites.
Like what you don't know is good when you find out about it.
You're like, wait, I feel itchy. Oh my gosh. And then you start also learning how to suture. So when you do surgery, you have to learn how to stitch the animal back up. And you learn how to anesthetize animals. So you start learning how to make them go to sleep for the surgeries.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Beverly, let's hear a little bit about you. How did you get interested in being a veterinarian, and what was your path?
So for me, my family was the family that has a ton of animals growing up. We had 2 dogs and 3 cats and 1 bird. When I lived there, my parents now have 2 birds. So we had a good spectrum of animals. And then my aunt also worked with I'm from Plano, Texas, and they have a wildlife rehabilitation center there for when people buy exotic animals that they can't have in city limits and the police find them, or if they have a bunch of raccoons in the city that they need to go rehabilitate and put out into the wild again. And so I got to volunteer there a lot and help with animals there. And that was pretty cool. Got to interact with like some monkeys, and one time they had a little tiger cub, which was pretty neat. Someone had that in Plano. I don't know why. So I was interested in animals from a pretty young age there, and then I really decided I wanted to go and do veterinary medicine when in high school I had a science teacher that encouraged me to do the science fair, and so I created my own project, and I actually ended up winning, and I got to go to the state science fair in San Antonio, and I won an award there that led me to present my project at Texas A&M for kind of a science day thing. And that's where I really fell in love with Texas A&M and the campus there, and I just knew that that's where I wanted to go to college for undergrad, and it made sense. It was the only vet school in Texas, so why not go there as an undergrad and work up to vet school from there. And so from then on, I put all of my hard work and intentions into getting into Texas A&M and then eventually getting into vet school. So, there's a bunch of different ways that you can get to vet school. You don't have to go to A&M, you can go to any college and do any major. We have a classmate who was a communication major in undergrad. So you can do anything really. But I went to A&M and I majored in biomedical science, and then I applied my junior year, so I only did 3 years of undergrad to get into vet school, and I was accepted. So what would have been my senior year of college, I started my first year of vet school. And so my entire undergrad and vet school accumulation of college will be 7 years instead of 8 total. And I did kind of dual credit my first year of vet school and got my degree last year. So I do have an undergrad degree. But it is possible to go to vet school and not get an undergrad degree if you get all the prerequisites.
And also we have some students in vet school that go to vet school and then they leave and get a master's of business administration,
Yes.
and then they come back to vet school.
They
So
have a program
so
that you can leave in your second year and go over to A&M also has a business school, Mays Business School, and you can get your MBA for a year and then come back and join the class below you in third year. So
it's pretty neat. A lot of
it's a
options
5-year
there.
track.
Is
Yeah,
there
it's
also
really
a
cool.
dual PhD
Yeah,
veterinary
there is.
program? So
You can
there's
do public health.
yeah, there's a program where you can get a doctorate degree, like if you're really interested in research or things like that, you can get a PhD at the same time that you're getting your doctorate of veterinary medicine too.
Interesting, very good. So Beverly, do you have some advice to these guys who are interested in careers in animals and maybe being a veterinarian?
Yeah, as they said before, diversify yourself on the money lines. You want to make sure that you get good grades in all of your science classes, and really just keep your grades up because you can apply for scholarships and reduce your debt. When you're going to college for 7, 8 years, sometimes more if you're getting even more degrees, it can get really expensive, really, really fast, and the debt can be really scary a lot of times. And you kind of get worried about, well, should I continue doing this because it's going to cost this much more money? If you have good grades, you can apply for scholarships and grants, and you can help reduce that debt, and it can make school a lot less stressful because you don't have the money weighing into that equation. So it really helps to take a break.
Another thing I'd like to add also is a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I don't want to apply to like a private university because they look at how much their tuition is. And if you look at it up front, yes, tuition looks a lot more expensive, but usually private universities, I went to a private university, they have a lot more money too. And a lot of times they will give you financial aid based on your needs. So how much based on your parents' salary, they will provide you with an appropriate amount of financial aid. So I went to Cornell University for undergrad, and I went there for free. So, don't rule out private universities just because it may seem like they have a higher tuition.
And Beverly, would you like to tell us a little bit about third year in veterinary school?
So as I said, first year you learn normal, what normal animals look like in the anatomy. Second year we learn what abnormal looks like in those drugs that we can use to treat them. And then third year is like taking a puzzle and putting it together and making treatment plans and learning how when a dog is put, or an animal is put in front of you with these signs, this is how we can work up the case and figure it out. And actually the best part about third year that we were talking with Reagan, she's actually a third year, earlier about is that they have a surgery class where we actually get to go in, do a complete sterile procedure, basically the same as a human hospital, the same protocol. They get to spay or neuter an animal from the Brazos Animal Shelter, so it's a partnership that we have. And then they monitor their case for, I think she said 10 days, a week after. So they get to look at their work and do standard care and things like that. And then they get to go back and be adopted by any of you guys that want to go adopt an animal, potentially spayed by someone or neutered by someone at A&M. So that's a really big highlight. A&M is one of the top schools in the nation. We get 14 surgeries before graduation, so we're really competent in that area. So it's a really great experience for us.
And reassuring for you guys.
Yeah. If your doctor's from A&M.
Okay, Elizabeth, let's hear a little bit about you. You have a little bit of a different kind of story about how
I
you got
do.
interested in veterinary
So
medicine.
who here has seen the Disney movie Rio? Yeah, okay, so that's where I'm from. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which is in South America, also home to a large part of the Amazon rainforest. So from an early age, I was surrounded by, lots of tropical animals. I remember when I was like 3 years old going into my backyard and seeing monkeys playing in the trees. So I was just always really fascinated by nature and different animals and things like that. And then we moved to Texas when I was 5, and I continued my interest of animals, but I didn't know yet what I wanted to be when I grew up. But I found out after years of begging my parents for a dog, they finally got me a dog from an animal shelter in Fort Worth. I lived in that area. And when I got her as a puppy, she was really, really sick. So we took her to the vet, and the vet prescribed her an antibiotic. And she was on this medication for weeks, and she was doing really bad, and it didn't seem like her condition was improving. And we were worried she might die. So I, got on Google and started researching the condition that the vet said that my pet had, and the medication she was on, and I found that, some article that said, oh, if the pet doesn't respond to this antibiotic, oftentimes this other antibiotic will be more helpful. And so I, went back to the vet with my dog, and I said, look, she's not getting any better. Could you prescribe this antibiotic that I read about? And she was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So she prescribed that antibiotic for my dog, and seriously, within like 3 to 4 days, she just did a complete 180, went from being this like really sick, skinny little puppy to like crazy, feisty, all over the place, healthy dog. And so that process of being able to like play a role in my dog getting better really had an impact on me. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I love this and I want to do this. So ever since I was 13, I was like, anyone asked me, I was like, I'm going to be a vet. So then my educational background would be, I went to normal public school in Arlington, Texas, and I always liked my science and also my math classes a lot. Didn't like physics very much either, but other than that, I really liked those classes. I was also involved in other things. I was played violin in the orchestra, and I also played tennis. And then I applied to a bunch of different universities for my undergraduate school, and I ended up going to Cornell University, which is in upstate New York. Thought it would be fun to get away from my parents for a while. And so I was there, and I majored in animal science. And while I was there, I worked in a research lab that they do research on chickens. They study human ovarian cancer by looking at chickens, because chickens also get ovarian cancer, and that's a pretty rare thing for an animal to get. So I worked in a lab doing research, and that just kind of developed my interests further in veterinary medicine, and then decided that I wanted to come back to Texas for vet school, and so glad I did. Being in upstate New York was fun, but it was too cold.
So you're trying to say you missed your parents?
Yes, I miss my parents, and I miss Texas a lot. The cold was not for me.
Okay. And I think Reagan's going to talk about fourth year, right? Or did you want to add anything about second or third year in there, and any advice that you have to these guys?
Advice. Just try to get a lot of variety of animal experience. So, I said I worked in a lab that I got to work with chickens. Also, I worked for 2 summers at at the veterinary clinic, same one from when I was 13. So I worked there for 2 summers. And then summer before my senior year of undergrad, I wanted to get some exotic animal medicine experience. So I did an internship at the Dallas World Aquarium, which it's called an aquarium, but it's really a zoo. And I worked there in their avian nursery. So I got to hand raise baby toucans mainly, and that was super fun and awesome. And I think that probably made my application, look a little more interesting to the people at the veterinary admissions office.
I think it's interesting in all the veterinary students I've talked to that they have such a varied path to get into vet school. And we have only women with us today, but guys, there's also guys in veterinary school, and a lot of them don't have exactly that whole, I loved little puppies since I was young. Some of them are like, I was out at this and they cut up in a pig, and I was like, oh God, that's so cool. I want to do that. And we actually even have a fourth year student who's getting ready to graduate who didn't have all the animal experience. He was actually a linebacker at Clemson University when he decided he wanted to be a veterinarian, and now he is in fourth year of veterinary school. So experience doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in a vet clinic and all that. Being on a team, playing an instrument and stuff like that, all of that can factor into it. You hear them saying, stand out. All right, very good. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in being a veterinarian.
I was a little, gosh, I don't even remember how young I was, and I think everybody goes to that phase where they're like, I really love animals, I want to be a vet, and just kind of stayed there, just my passion and love for animals. And then as school continued on, and I think middle school is really when science starts getting cool and you start kind of blowing things up and doing all sorts of crazy things in the dissections, and I was like, this is just getting more cool. And as I got into high school, I took some of the more advanced classes, and biology is really, I think, my favorite thing. How the body works and how it's put together, it's phenomenal. I mean, if you have some time, just Google interesting facts about the human body. I mean, it's just amazing how we survive and you keep yourself going. It's so resilient. It's fascinating to me. So that's really where my passion was, and I was like, what's at the crossroad of animals, a love for animals and science? I mean, that's squarely veterinary medicine. And it just really fit where I wanted to go. So when I was lucky enough to be able to grow up, I had horses and cattle and things like that. So I grew up in kind of a more rural area. We had dogs and cats and rabbits as well, but I really liked the livestock side and the production side and working with herds and that type of thing. I got to see a lot of that growing up, and it was just really neat to see how a vet could come out and be like, oh yeah, I mean, you kind of have a whole problem in your entire herd of cattle, but if we start working on this and do some husbandry things, we can fix it. And it really helped the ranchers continue on, and I really like that partnership of being able to help someone's family and livelihood. So I think that was my biggest push to go into veterinary medicine.
And what was your undergraduate major, and how did you?
I was lucky enough, I had a couple of friends down at A&M and when I was in high school, so I went to visit them, and I just fell in love with the campus, the traditions, midnight yell, bonfire. I mean, that A&M fit me really, really well. And so the vet school was down there, and that was definitely helpful, but I feel like A&M just as an undergrad fit my personality. I'm very traditional, so that was really neat. So I came in and I started out as a biomedical science major, decided that there wasn't enough hands-on for me to learn adequately, so I changed to animal science because there's a lot more labs where you're actually handling animals, and that just fit my learning style a lot better. So I graduated animal science. I applied to vet school. I actually got denied. So if you get the small envelope, it's a bad day. So I went out and felt like I was weak in the small animal side of my application. Since I was able to do so much of the rural large animal things, I felt more comfortable with particularly horses. So I went out and I became a veterinary technician at a small animal hospital there in College Station, and I felt like that helped my application ump it up a little bit, made me a little bit more competitive, and I reapplied and was able to get in them on my second try. So that's how I actually got into vet school. And then I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about fourth year. So it is a 4-year thing. So like they're saying, first year you learn normal. That's the most important thing, because as long as you can look at something and say that is not right, like you're like ahead of the game. So that's what you learn in second year is abnormal. Third year you kind of start putting it all together, actually doing the medicine side of things, actually fixing animals. In fourth year, it's a little bit different. The other 3 years are actually a normal 9-month, like what you're doing now from August to May. Fourth year is actually a 12-month rotation, so I'll actually start fourth month. It's called being in the clinics. I'll actually be in a white coat all the time now. And you actually, if you guys were to come in with your animals, I would actually come out and greet you, get the history on the animal, what's going on, and I would actually take it through the workup, figure out what tests we need to do to fix it, and potentially what medications in order to get it better. So we have a bunch of different services at A&M, just like if you were to go to an actual human hospital, we have radiology, so I would hang out with the radiologist for 2 weeks. They'd teach me all the ins and outs of, yeah, this bone's doing this, and this cancer looks like this on the bone when you see that, and help you figure that out. And then from there, I would change to something like food animal, and I'd go work with producers and help them with production problems, or one cow's lame or something like that, or pigs. We had some potbellies come in the other day, goats, so we'll deal with them. And then after that, maybe I'll rotate through to small animal cardiology. So you do some some ultrasounds of the heart called an echocardiogram, check and see if there's any murmurs, any holes in the heart, and then potentially go to surgery and fix those there at A&M. So you just do that and you rotate through for 12 months. And at the end of the 12 months, something that the fourth years get really kind of worried about, we have a national test that we have to take in order to be officially licensed. So that happens in the fall, so they're all studying for that, putting it all together. I'm more interested in horses and kind of the livestock side of things, but they do test you on everything, so I have to know everything from little salamanders all the way up to like camels and everything in between that. And they test you on that, and then in the spring they'll actually start taking their state licensing exams. And then in May they'll graduate and they'll be an official vet, and they'll be able to go out and get a job and start working for real. So
amazing.
it is.
So fourth year is straight through. We're kind of running a tiny bit over, so if you guys wouldn't mind, if you have some questions, can you come to the table with us, and they would be glad to answer your questions. Let's give the ladies a hand. They take the time out of their